fast fire topics that are interesting factoids and tidbits of the degeneration of Western culture. The migrant crisis.
This is a fast fire topic.
This is a fast fire topic. The migrant crisis. Specifically the migrant crisis. What happens when you've got someone who's what's the cultural approach to dealing with someone who is from an ethnic minority that doesn't want to let in more ethnic minorities? So is that person just also racist, or do they actually have some kind of point of view that might be relevant to what they're saying? So in particular, I'm thinking about a lot of the people that have immigrated to this country but culturally assimilated as opposed to ghettoized. How do we treat those people? How do we treat those people? And then how does society treat those people?
Well, we ignore them. We pretend they don't exist.
Right.
Because the cognitive dissonance doesn't allow us to, to facilitate the idea that those people are even real.
In some ways, it's one of the rudest things about it, because they are the people that have actually made the effort to come over, then made the effort to change their way of life and to assimilate, and in that sense are the conscious expression of the culture of the country. They don't have that culture ingrained by default, by birthright, if you want to say it. They have actually had to make a conscious effort to adopt and follow that new developed culture. So in a sense, they're the people that have made the most effort, and yet we go out of our way to ignore them the most. So it's almost like a double snub.
Oh yeah. I mean, let's sort of be. I would say, when we say we, I think a lot of people. Appreciate them. I just think that the narrative that's been driven in a lot of media centres, out of a lot of types of media, there's obviously there's obviously a narrative coming out, and when you get people like that stand up and talk, then they're not, these people believe that these people don't exist, and if anyone jumps up and that, the whole thing's ironic, because they scream, you need to respect our difference of opinion, but yet they want everyone within their own group to express the same opinion as them. So when someone within, and quote unquote, their own group comes out with a different opinion, then they just automatically shut that down. So I would say there's a lot of people out there that appreciate, respect those people, and would want more people like that to come into the country and to help the country prosper. But then there's people out there with an agenda, and they shut those people down because they're ruining their victim narrative often,
So it's almost like you're saying that we want people who come over here and respect our way of life and our culture, not a bunch of parasites who come over here to rape and pillage the free welfare state looking for a handout.
Yeah, I mean, what's the economic benefit of that,
It feels good, man.
Yeah, that's the only argument that you could make, and that you probably couldn't even sustain. You say, well, yeah, we just want to limit suffering, but you're sort of ignoring the added suffering that it creates in other areas.
Well, something the way I read it, the figures is something like 97% of the migrants that they keep letting into Germany can't find work, so they're not really adding a hell of a lot.
Yeah,
and I assume that's all because of racism.
I just don't think people can conceptualize these problems in the time frames that they need to be conceptualized in, because when we're talking about migration, we can't be looking at 2016 was a terrible year because Syrians were drowning in boats in the Mediterranean, and people are just focusing on, we need to do something about that now, which is, we do need to do something about that now, but the action that we take needs to take into consideration the larger time frames, because the consequences aren't going to be felt immediately. They're going to be felt, whether positive or negative, they're going to be felt over longer periods of time, and people just don't think like that.
No, they don't.
So
it's because they're not spiritual enough.